What's up everyone, it's Golus Gaming here. Welcome back to my reaction series of Digimon Ghost Game. I have to say that things were rather disappointing as of late. Last episode did not leave me happy, to put it in a light way, but they did finally start explaining things in this episode, and I have to say, finally, we're actually getting some lore that actually explains everything. My gosh, it was so upsetting to go the whole season without any lore, but now I'm actually afraid of what the lore is. But I know that most of you probably are not Digimon fans, or at least at this point have stopped watching the show, so I'm going to explain what's been going on, as well as what Lord Bluemon is actually guarding this episode. Let's get right into the video. So, I have to say right off the bat that Lord Bluemon is actually what's called a Royal Knight, although he seems more like a Royal Knight in training. There are about 12 of them, I believe, but he actually is in the place of one in this season. And I assume the reason for that is because Yggdrasil, the one who the Royal Knights are protecting and the server of the digital world, he's actually probably left the entire digital world at this point and just left it to be on standby until his Royal Knights clean up. I don't know where they are exactly, but clearly they are either deployed or they've left, and so have the Angel Digimon. So the heroes here, they all go forth to the digital world having no clue. Basically, they're the same as the community right now, completely uninformed about what happened in the digital world, and they try talking to Lord Bluemon about what's going on. And as it turns out, Lord Bluemon is pretty territorial, to say the least. This guy has no interest of letting any of them through to speak to who the voice is that told most Digimon to leave the digital world. And I personally call this, if I remember correctly, I think I call it the hologram evacuation protocol, or hologram evacuation program. So this would theoretically be a program that Yggdrasil activated and deployed, where Digimon would be turned into holograms that can interface with the human world outside the digital world. They don't need food or whatnot, and they are kept from the GRB virus. But it seems that this was the primary way Yggdrasil planned on preventing Digimon from being infected and going berserk in the digital world and destroying it. So the interesting thing about this is actually that Lord Bluemon confirms a theory that I had for quite a while, which is that there are no Digidestined throughout this entire season. You heard that right. This is the very first season of Digimon where there's no Digidestined at all. Yggdrasil did not have homeostasis go forth to keep the balance and raise Digidestined. Genai was not here in this dimension. There was no holy angel Digimon guarding them this season like the other seasons. Nope, absolutely nothing. There's just no Digidestined at all. No crest, no tags. It's all just the Digimon themselves. They're very self-sufficient this season, and I have to give Yggdrasil credit for a being that's almost never actually seen on screen. He's actually become very self-sufficient over the years. He took down Zed Millenniummon just by raising the Digidestined last season, and bringing forth the exact calculations to take him down. And he's not even taking any chances this season either. Imagine the possibility of being able to take down Zed Millenniummon in one episode with just 3 mega levels, because that's 2 mega levels, to be honest. That's what they did. So Yggdrasil is definitely arranging things in this episode, in this universe, so that a lot of the big bads that were posing a threat to him in the previous seasons, they seem to actually be getting neutralized pretty fast, and that's actually kind of impressive. But for the most part, no one has any idea of what's happening, because the Royal Knights, for that matter, do not explain anything to anyone. They show up and anonymously enforce Yggdrasil's will. And here, Lord Bluemon, acting as a replacement for one of them, is saying, if you take one more step towards me, I will destroy you and protect my master at all costs. So these guys, being the not heroes that are not the Digidestined, who are not educated on how the digital world works or what a Royal Knight even is, just automatically mega level their Digimon and try to have them rush this guy. And I have to say, this is one of the most Wow, this is like watching an elderly war veteran kick a bunch of kids around holding sticks thinking that they're swordsmen. He basically flattened, steamrolled, and completely like clapped everyone. Jellymon's full Digivolution didn't even get to like stay on screen unbound for over 5 minutes. My gosh, like, and each of his attacks have crowd control. Each of them spawn roots that like trapped both the Digimon and their Digimon partners. And I have to say, regarding these bracelets, I think that Hero's dad actually tweaked them from like holographic smartwatches or something, like similar to smartphones or smartwatches, except they project holograms and they're supercharged by digital world data or whatnot. So that supposedly explains how they're able to spawn around like the digital world in the human world, but that's probably the closest to an explanation we're going to get right now, because they don't seem to even address how that's possible or who created them. But in the most case, Lord Bluemon is absolutely dominating and handling all of them. He is manhandling them. When I first saw this guy, I was like, okay, this guy's imposing, and he does not look infected by the GRB virus, the Golus Realm Burst virus. And surely enough, he's like, do you know how many infected Digimon I have dealt with since I've been here? And he just destroys all of them practically. In moments, he's just overpowered all of them. And Hero's Digimon, I keep forgetting the name of their Digivolutions because they show up for one moment and then they're gone. Like, there's hardly any bonding with the Mega level Digimon, and they're hardly on screen unless they're fighting, so I don't really remember their names too much anymore. Outside of Dirabitsmon, because, I forgot his name. Angoramon has the most character development and character out of, like, all the characters in the entire show, so I have to remember him, honestly. But this sentence right here really cements something. These guys really think that they're out to save everyone in the digital world. And this has been the main premise, because they've been trying to stop every Digimon that's come to the human world. They have not actually killed a Digimon in and of themselves. It's actually just Golus Gammamon who's been done all of the killing, honestly. Everyone else just gets off easy, and to be honest, that's not a good trait for a Digidestin, because if a Digimon is evil, then you have to take them out. But fortunately in this season, what happened actually is that Dragomon, as I call him, the octopus Digimon that we saw earlier, who didn't get a proper explanation, annoyingly enough, was the Digimon in charge. Well, he was the one corrupting each Digimon that Yggdrasil moved over to the human world, and inducing these severe afflictions and like obsessions that made them do weird and crazy things to humans and whatnot. So once he was defeated, all of the Digimon that are in the human world are actually back to normal. They're just behaving like normal Digimon, which is kind of attacking people sometimes, but for the most part being passive unless they themselves are attacked. And to Lord Bluemon's credit, he's right. They don't need any help whatsoever. This entire season, there have not been any Digidestin since the digital world, and nobody's done anything to actually save the digital world. Like, Yggdrasil is surprisingly self-sufficient. It's nightmarish. This is actually the closest it's come to Yggdrasil feeling like a god instead of a computer program. And to be honest, he is a lord of the digital world. He's a computer server. But at the same time, he's multi-dimensional, which means that his powers are able to span across multiple different iterations of the digital world, and no matter how different they are or how many evil Digimon there are, he's capable of taking them down and manifesting the exact algorithm through homeostasis or angel Digimon in order to raise humans and Digimon that like destroy all evil. And here, he didn't even need humans in order to do any of this. Like, this guy, I'm pretty sure he's vaccine type, and that's enough to withstand the Golus Realm Burst virus. Like, it kind of makes sense. This is the first time that I've seen a vaccine type in Digimon actually directly and actively counteract a virus in the digital world. I was actually, for the most part, upset that the digital world didn't seem to have an antivirus program in spite of there being so many vaccine Digimon, but Lord Bluemon has single-handedly, as a mega level, fulfilled that role and protected Yggdrasil while the other Royal Knights are just missing in action right now. And I presume the reason they're missing is because Yggdrasil has actually left the digital world, and what we're seeing right now is what I'd call a server nexus. So the entire region they're standing on, this server nexus, is a way that Yggdrasil interacts with multiple different dimensions. It's basically like the server if it were in digital format instead of physical format. And it's how he manages and calculates and computes each of the different areas in each world. And that's why Lord Bluemon's protecting it so much, because it's basically like Yggdrasil's shrine, as well as probably it might actually be his body, but we don't know where the code is. But that aside, that's just a theory for the most part. The main problem in this episode is how these guys in the Digimon have actually entered the human world. And I have to say right off the bat that as a long-term Digimon fan, I know for a fact that these Digimon are not actually causing trouble. This rather is a result of humans finding out about Digimon. It's kind of bizarre, actually. I have to call out something that's weird. The humans have been going for the last year at least with treating holograms as normal. Holograms are normal for them. Holograms everywhere, like holograms in the city, hologram in the skyscraper. They had a dog police officer hologram guiding traffic every single intro to the episode of this season. And when holograms show up and seem to have a mind of their own this time, all of a sudden people are freaking out or something. Like, people don't have access to holograms programming like that to know what they're supposed to do. It's just that they're not going to physically interact with anyone. These guys are running away from this Digimon. They do not know that this is a Digimon. He's just a hologram to them. And they're just like, okay, that's bizarre. But like, the crazy thing is, this guy's not even being aggressive. So the humans this season are just being kind of, if I'm being honest, they designed holograms and yet they're scared of holograms. They're being hypocritical. Like, I'm actually kind of disappointed that the world has no awareness of Digimon like being in hologram form, but I guess that's the way things had to go. Meanwhile, I do have to call out, because it upset me severely, Hiro's dad, who was severely bad at handling, like, interacting with his own son, somehow within the span of an episode got charge of an entire school. And I have to say, I'm kind of surprised that he did, because it doesn't look like the teacher's anywhere around, but he's just in charge of them, being like, all right, everyone, I need you to go forth and capture Digimon not capture Digimon, but I need you to politely talk to these extra-dimensional monsters you have no experience with or no Digivice to identify their abilities by. You know, the guys that have been haunting your school, that have been making buildings disappear, the ones that have been, like, nearly burning down the whole city, that giant monster that suddenly appeared, nearly destroyed the whole world in one episode. Yeah, those guys, I need you to go and collect those guys and tell them to just act nicely. Like, to Hiro's dad's credit, this is the most that a human can do for Digimon, or to Digimon, like, but the fact that he's talking to kids and not police is mildly disconcerting. But for the most part, while this is happening, Lord Bluemon is actually kicking everyone's butt still. And I have to say that I'm actually very happy about this. I always hated the main character syndrome in Digimon, and how, like, the Goggle kids always were able to, like, take down any problem without any critical thinking. They're like, you're bad, we have to defeat you. And to Hiro's credit, he doesn't have goggles, and he's not like those guys. Like, the closest Goggle kid to Hiro is probably Takoya or Takeru from, like, Digimon, I forgot what it was called. It's not X Evolution, Digi-Cross Wars. It has an X in the name, so I was confused for a little bit. But for the most part, Lord Bluemon is not taking any excuse whatsoever. He knows exactly what's in Gammamon. He saw it from the first moment Gammamon showed up, even though he was Digivolved, and he's like, the dark entity inside you is the one who has corroded the digital world. You must be purged. And he gets straight to that, basically. But I have to call something out here. In spite of looking like he was about to kill Gammamon, he actually was delaying this on purpose. He, like, knew that Gammamon was not tainted by the virus, even though Gammamon was fully, like, able to bring out Golus Gammamon if he let Golus come forward. So he just, like, held Gammamon at spear point, basically, until Gammamon was like, all right, if I'm going to die, I might as well give everything I've got, including the dark side. So he goes full Star Wars, full dark side, and oh my gosh, this is single-handedly the most terrifying image I've seen of Gammamon yet. This is Five Nights at Freddy's first jump scare you ever encounter in the game scary. Wow, my gosh. But something I want to point out here is this dark aura around Gammamon is actually a specific material that had actually been in the digital world for a while, and Black Bergermon actually had it when he was in the episode. It's called Black Digitron. It's natural, but its source is not known in the digital world. It basically causes Digimon to become more powerful over time, but it doesn't necessarily make them evil. So my working theory here is that Golus Gammamon, nice close-up here, I have to say. He's really smiling for the camera, and Golus itself actually means laughing, apparently, in Japanese, so that's an interesting definition to this Digimon's name. This guy, I presume he was actually made from something I currently theorize is called the Golus virus, or a Digimon called Regulusmon, who I theorize is his older brother. I'll get into that later in the video. And that virus came in contact with Black Digitron and formed Regulusmon, and then Regulusmon infected Gammamon and copied his data and became Golus Gammamon under certain cases. It's very complicated, but viruses have a tendency to actually become Digimon themselves, and Dragomon is the main case in this, as he came from a ship virus that actually had enough power to rip Digimon out of the digital world and drag them to the human world and suffocate them in evil and madness and despair for the most part. So Golus Gammamon shows up and he's like, "Hi guys, how's it going? It's your least favorite Digimon here, and I'm here to ruin all your lives. Sup hero, you're my older brother, but not really. You want to know why that is? Because I don't need you anymore. Bwam. This is me now. This is what I am. Say hi to my real older brother. You see this marking right here, this sigil that was shown off? This is actually a silhouette. This is actually a silhouette of Golus Gammamon, I presume his actual brother, or his king. In any case, this is actually the Digivolution symbol on the Digiwatch bracelets flipped upside down, and I think I know what this is. This is evil, this is good, and it symbolizes that when they're together they digivolve. But the reason I'm theorizing this is because here we see the marking reversed and one of those reduced. So it seems, supposedly, that when a force that's powerful enough is applied, it means that a force divides, and the evil and light sides of Gammamon are divided, and a new Digivolution is born that is Golus Gammamon. It seems that the virus inside of him is actually a Digivolution algorithm that changes how Digimon gain experience, and this supposedly could explain why it is that he keeps getting stronger without digivolving, because oh my gosh, when he digivolves, he's at mega level status and power. But as for this guy, I theorized that this is actually Hero's brother, and for a brief moment, I thought that this was within the area of Yggdrasil. I thought this guy had infiltrated Yggdrasil's area. We can see right here that he actually is wearing a cape of some sort that's silhouetted, so clearly he's kingly in some manner or another. And this is who I theorized to actually be Regulusmon, the source of the Golus virus, before it attaches to Digimon and becomes like Golus Gammamon, or potentially Golus Angoramon, or Golus Agumon. There are several Darkness Digimon that we've seen that had the Digitron virus around them, and for a while it seemed like the Golus virus had personified onto them as well and copied their data, like Golus Agumon or Golus Growlmon or whatever. But as it turns out, my research indicates through the Digimon booklets that Black Digitron actually resists this virus. So that's an interesting point, and what I think this highlights is that Yggdrasil, who's actually been dealing with each Darkness Digimon personally with some vendetta or another after all the times they've attacked him across the multiverses. Like, he's really on point in this season, and I think he's actually coated random Digimon with black Digitron so that they're immune to the virus, and then he's using their eyes in order to see what Gammamon's doing, or what Golus Gammamon's doing, because each time he manifests, these black Digitron Digimon who are not going chaotic and not behaving as sadistically as Golus Gammamon, they show up and they're just silently watching, and whenever Golus Gammamon is gone, they just disappear and walk away. So clearly Idrisil is exercising some supernatural ability that he has as a digital world server to observe Golus Gammamon and ensure that he's not a threat. But my gosh, this is apparently, I theorize that this is either Golus Gammamon's brother who has the marking on him, or this is the original Golus Gammamon. As it turns out, the GRB virus, as it's called, the Golus Realm Burst virus, it has a disturbing fact about it. Whenever it's injected into a Digimon at a high enough amount, it always turns into the same Digimon. It's similar to that virus Digimon that first debuted along with Kiyoshiro's secondary Digimon partner, the Armadillo Dragon. Yeah, this guy actually is able to like clone himself like an actual virus onto other Digimon. And the crazy thing is, it looks like this is how. So he has the GRB virus infecting the entire digital world, and he himself is either generating it or he's absorbing it. And here he is right here. I think this is the actual Golus Gammamon. We don't know where this is. It's shrouded in darkness. But based off of the contrast of this area, this looks like it's a former area of... Oh my gosh, now that I actually look at it, this looks like it's actually been fully built by him. Like, these pillars have spikes on them. This entire area is tricked out with them and whatnot. I have to say, this looks like it's actually kind of like a Golus... Can I say this looks like, if I theorize correctly, a GRB reactor, like a GRB power plant or a power drive or something. Whatever it is, he's at the center of command of it, and he is in charge. Oh my gosh. So I presume that this is Golus Gammamon's older brother. And as for Golus Gammamon himself, I have to say, this guy always came off as a Darkness Mega Level Digimon that was powerful, but his power was never explained. Up to this point, Digimon have actually been explained and powered by Moon Millenniumon's influence. For those of you who don't know, because lore is not properly explored for like 20 years in Digimon, oh my gosh, Moon Millenniumon is the Digimon form of Zed Millenniumon that directly twists, manipulates, and corrupts Digimon and makes them evil across multiple different dimensions, which is why it's called the Darkness God Digimon, even though it's in crystal form and does not physically touch anyone. Without physically touching any Digimon, it's capable of corrupting them and turning them evil across universes. And in this season, he was actually sent back to being dormant. Like, I don't know what happens with Moon Millenniumon after this. I know for a fact that he either goes back to like the season 1 or season 3 universe and DNA digivolves with Ryo's Vmon or Monodramon and becomes Cyberdramon for like season 3, because that's the continuity of Digimon and whatnot. But the fact is that like Moon Millenniumon did not cause this. He was not awake. He was not active to cause Gammamon in this state. But I think he caused what allowed Gammamon and Golus Gammamon to form. In this case, the corruption that made this virus so powerful. But he's like, even without my big brother's help, I can still destroy you. Oh, I can't wait to destroy you. Like, oh my gosh, the bloodthirstiness of this Digimon never ceases to amaze me because he's only champion level. But I theorize that like from the first time he manifested that he's actually ultimate or mega level, because he's got power that's way stronger than normal. So I have to say, this season, this episode, he digivolved, and this was single-handedly the most terrifying digivolution that I may actually have ever seen. Like, when Zed Millenniumon first showed up, it was obvious what he was going to digivolve into and what he would destroy, but like, Regulusmon nothing was explained about this Digimon at all. I looked at the wiki like a few episodes ago and nothing was explained. They did not explain anything. They were like, supposedly calculated by a high-powered supercomputer. It's capable of manifesting whenever a sufficient amount of redacted forms in a Digimon, and then redacted under certain conditions, and then it manifests always, and it's unknown what exactly happens whenever it manifested. But now that it's actually shown up, we got actual information saying that this guy rivals one of the 4 great dragon Digimon. I forgot his name exactly. Oh my gosh. Megidramon. Yeah, Megidramon, who Guilmon himself actually mimicked as well, or had a similarity to as well. And I have to say, this guy is terrifying. These eyes better not give me any nightmares at night, because oh my gosh, this guy is out for blood and he does not care. So he digivolves. This is the first time he shows up, and I have to say that this is one of the rare occasions where an ultimate level only showing up for a brief moment in their introduction was done properly in the season. Have to say, my gosh, any one of the scenes where this guy shows up is a good screensaver, but here we have the corrupt Digivolution symbol again. I think that the Golus... My gosh, the GRB virus isn't a corruption to Digimon, but a corruption to the experience Digimon gain and how they digivolve. So this is the reason that Digimon are not destroyed in having the virus, but it's so overpowering that it eventually turns them all into a Regulusmon or Contreras regardless after a certain point. So this guy's honestly pretty decked out, and this shield, honestly, I was not expecting it, but... My gosh, I have to say, original Digimons, I am so glad that he is not a Metal Greymon ripoff, because Greymon's so iconic, but this guy reveals that his entire plan was to create an entire army off of the virus that he's been spreading around the entire digital world. And something I want to point out is that I doubt that Golus Gammamon, or Regulusmon for this point, is actually the Digimon that was capable of spreading, that was actually creating the virus. The GRB virus does seem to be in his knowledge, but for the most part it spreads passively. Like, he was not in the digital world the entire time it spread. He dropped it once. There has to have been another Digimon that manipulated the virus and made it spread so effectively and explosively without being detected. Because countless vaccine Digimon exist in the digital world that are capable of countering any virus, and at any point a virus can come to life in the form of a Digimon and basically be dominated by Yggdrasil or destroyed. And like, Yggdrasil's got Anubismon, who's capable of like keeping any Digimon from remanifesting after they are destroyed, even the fallen angel Digimon, as shown in season 2, but he wasn't physically there. For the most part though, this guy is an ultimate level Digimon, and this one screenshot basically explains everything about how powerful he is. He really does have the power of like Megidramon or whatever behind him to be able to push back a Digimon on the equivalent level of a Royal Knight. And these guys for the most part are evenly matched. The GRB increases a Digimon's survival instincts and fighting power, and it seems for the most part, don't quote me on this, I think that the GRB virus was based on data of Chimeramon or Millenniumon. At some point or another, I think that Zed Millenniumon's destruction caused its data to fragment back into dark spores, like when it was defeated previously, the first time that Kin and Rio did, and it created the dark spores. So in this case, I think that what happened is Chimeramon's data actually broke off, and it basically took... My gosh, it took that incredible fighting instincts that are unparalleled of Chimeramon, it attached to a virus that formed the GRB virus, and then that virus formed a black Digitron, which is why it seems to have this dark influence around every Digimon around it and makes them more powerful to boot. Because Chimeramon's data normally only makes one Digimon more powerful, unless for some reason he shares power, but he's not shown having that ability. So a virus that's based off of Chimeramon's data of consistently getting stronger, that also have Chimeramon's experience for each Digimon it takes over, explains why each Digimon that the GRB virus takes over seems to have the same level of battle experience and power as Chimeramon itself, but also has Golus Gammamon's evil and experience behind the virus. So I theorize that the virus here is not actually called the GRB virus, rather it's the GRB-EXE. So the EXE is the virus activated, but I think that the actual Digimon that created the GRB virus is Regulusmon, the silhouette that we saw there at that station earlier. Here we can see that Hero is trapped, and honestly, I would like to point out that the Digivice symbol here actually does show what it looks like normally for Digimon to Digivolve. It seems that it points out that this is the normal and practical stage of Digimon. It goes Rookie. Well, I'm not going to really point it out because that's still a theory and I need more evidence in the show, but this shows what an uncorrupted sigil of the Digivice looks like. And we can see a different one on Regulusmon and whatnot when he manifests. But Lord Bluemon's like, alright, enough of this. I'm having no more of this. Full power, you're going straight to the Dark Ocean or whatever. And he blasts Idrisil's own base. He blasts a hole through it just to destroy this guy. And I have to say that this power is probably on par with one of Mugendramon's cannons from the 2020 reboot. And that's not a joke. Like, Idrisil's servers are always designed to be of the hardest material of any digital world base or zone ever. And like, that never changes. But just in case something can threaten or damage them, the Royal Knights are deployed to keep check on things. But the fact that he pierced right through this prism, like, just like this, just like, my gosh. This guy really was powered up, I think, by Idrisil or trained by the Royal Knights just to keep this place in check until he returns from wherever he went. And this data right here is actually from Regulusmon's broken horn, so it did quite a bit of damage, enough so that he's actually willing to fall for Hero's trick to actually have like a fusion, a synchronize with Hero so that he can gain more power and a stronger Digivolution. Apparently in this season, Digivices work differently. The Digivices, for starters, are not created by some divine being. Rather, they're just stumbled upon or created by Hero's... I almost said Hero's dad. Yeah, Hero's dad, for this matter. And it seems that for the most part, they actually can make any Digimon more powerful. But fortunately, this Digivice is synchronized with only Gammamon. So when he tries to make Regulusmon more powerful, he did it knowing fully well that it would also give Gammamon enough power to resist him and start taking his body back. And that's exactly what happened here. And oh my gosh, like, I have seen plenty of body horror in this show, but seeing a Digimon quite literally implode on themselves as two singularities are defused like an atom bomb and creating like a pocket dimension that everyone else is in, single-handedly takes the cake for like the magnitude of what body horror is for a Digimon. Oh my gosh, and that takes the cake for like Zeet Millenniumon reviving itself from a dead person, because at least we could see that like being somewhat feasible, but this guy apparently has the power to actually create dimensions, pocket dimensions rather, of multiple different universes. When I first saw this, I thought that they had broken into Idrisil's domain and blown up his base, and that they had actually entered the intercelestial state of multiverses that Idrisil manages. So supposedly each of these dimensions is a different digital world and season that Idrisil is overwatching and managing, but I don't think that Idrisil would ever let it get this far. So here, Hero actually says, "Where are we?" And this voice answers and says, "I think we are inside their inner world." And I have to say right off the bat, this Digimon is not explained. This Digimon actually is not explained at all. It seems rather, this guy is wearing the very same cloak that I showed a few images back that I believe Golus Gammamon's brother seems to be wearing. So it seems that a corrupted Digimon, this cannot be Idrisil, mind you. Idrisil is omnipresent in the digital world and can manifest anywhere he chooses. It seems rather that this would be the Digimon that's responsible for the virus being created and spreading so fast, or the one who was absorbing it in the first place as it spread across the entire digital world. I think that this Digimon's name actually might be either Regulusmon or My gosh, I almost want to say Regulus, well, not Regulus like R-E, like the Digivolution, but Ray as in light, because Gammamon's entire Digivolution seems based off of light and celestial matter. But that's another theory that's going to take a lot of time to see if it's real or not, based on the fact that the season's going on hiatus. Still, I have to say that I'm glad that this episode decided to take things back in the direction it should be going and not in the episodic format. I was 90% sure that, like, Lord Bluemon was going to be mischaracterized and portrayed as not being like a royal knight, but instead as being a deus ex machina for forming, like, Arcturusmon, and then, like, my gosh, Arcturusmon and Regulusmon, and then they magically reassemble the digital world because of a magic misunderstanding where Lord Bluemon suddenly has all the knowledge of the digital world. For those of you who don't know, even royal knights do not know what Yggdrasil's plan is when he enacts it, so a pseudo-royal knight like Lord Bluemon would definitely not know in this case, and he does not know what, like, Yggdrasil is planning or carrying out. But in any case, this does at least prove that the Digivices they have, though they may not have been appointed to save the digital world, are still valid Digivices. So they're not Digi-destined, but they're still Digimon tamers, or Digimon partners at least. So I'm glad about that, but my theory about them not being Digi-destined, it's a shame that it was right, honestly, because oh my gosh, I was not ready to see, like, Golus Gammamon and Regulus Gammamon just, like, do this to Heroes Digimon. Oh my gosh. I keep forgetting his name because every time he manifests, he doesn't have proper character development. To me, in order to remember a Digimon's name, they have to first be their own Digimon and not, like, this transformation of another. Like, they have to have character, and the reason I remember Dyalla Digivolution and not the other two mega levels is because he had actual character that was expressed through Ruli strongly and effectively throughout the entire season. She's the closest to a fully developed Digimon tamer, even though she was not really into fighting and whatnot when the season first started, and I can't blame her because she's just a normal human girl and she doesn't know anything because, like, they don't explain anything this entire season. But something else I do want to point out is that these Digimon, there's no way that this Digimon is innocent. He's always causing chaos, mind you. I believe his name is Zuchaomon, if I'm saying that correctly. His name's spelled weird if you were reading it in English, but yeah, he's actually able to trick these these friends of Hero, not so friends but acquaintances, into stumbling into, I almost called this guy Quartzmon, but I know his name's not Quartzmon. It's something else. He's ultimate level, and he's just like, what is this thing, and why is it in me? And speaking of why is it in me, why is this what happened in one episode? Why did we need to get all of this right off the bat? Oh my gosh. Like, this attack that Regulusmon released is called Genius or something, like, not genius but Genius, which implies something. I don't know if that's the name of his shield or whatnot, but oh my gosh, it's so powerful that it just pierces a mega level. The GRB virus just made him so powerful at this point. It doesn't matter what Hero or him did, he just only had to outsmart them once and he's defeated. But this point right here, I don't think these guys are actually going to be killed by this Digimon or attacked by him, because Zuchaomon actually just showed up and this guy's like, what are you and why did you get next to my face? Like, given the trend of Digimon and how they behave when they're not influenced by evil or attacked by people, I think that actually these guys might actually befriend this guy potentially, and that might be some, I don't know, some deus ex machina of humans accepting Digimon living in the human world. But as things currently go, it seems that Yggdrasil perfectly calculated everything, so Digimon currently have not killed anyone actually, outside of Moon Millenniumon actually, and that's quite impressive actually. Well, outside of the few who broke through, no thanks to Dragomon corrupting them anyway. But that said, this is what's happened this episode, and I'm actually, surprised that they took things in this episode so suddenly. Like, they're all of a sudden they're out in a pocket dimensional multiverse, this guy's punctured for good, potentially. I don't think he's dead. He didn't decay or anything. But, my gosh. I have to say, with the Black Digitron virus being part of Regulusmon, it certainly explains why the Black Digitron has to have been mutated into the GRB virus by coming into contact with the virus somehow. Like, the Golus virus and the Black Digitron formed the GRB virus somehow. And wow, this episode's crazy. So, I have to say, I'm actually almost looking forward to this, but I don't think that we'll get too many other explanations about this. Kalit Vital, Genius, Dead in Spike, Contreras, as they're said in Japanese, are this guy's abilities. And I have to say, my gosh, he is not a joke in order to rival one of the 4 great Draymon Digimon. But, wow. I have to just stop and look at this because the power required to pierce a mega level like this means that the attack was beyond mega level, like super mega level, as in like Millenniumon is super mega level actually. He actually does take a mega level to even take on, but it takes a super mega level to defeat him, like Magnagramon or Gajramon when they were in their exalted states of like all of the Digidestin's hopes and powers, like founding their power in the 2020 reboot, because normally they're not at that size. But for this to happen when Regulusmon is only the same size speaks magnitude. Like, oh my gosh. We're going to have to see what happens in the next episode to actually determine any of these theories. But I personally think that this season, if they handle this right, it might be redeemable. Currently, Appmon is more, I personally think Appmon actually respects Digimon more than this season, thanks to its episodic format not giving any lore. Oh my gosh. I'm kind of like MatPat right now, and I'm so mad that there isn't any lore to this season. We don't know anything about the digital world aside from the fact that it's corrupted, and that's so frustrating because at this point it looks like the digital world's going to be reset, and we don't know anything about the digital world. We've only seen one biome, and that's basically a forest in the middle of nowhere thanks to this guy and his ridiculously broken power. He corrupted the entire digital world before we could even see it. Like, each digital world, each season is different, and honestly, I think I'm fairly upset that we never got to see the digital world outside of like a few forest biomes or whatnot before it was corrupted. But hopefully they don't mess this up and they don't go back to the episodic format next episode. We better find out who Golus Gammamon's brother is, because my working theory is that Hero is actually infected with Golus Gammamon's brother, and this is the reason why we haven't seen him, because Hero's been in the human world, and Golus Gammamon's brother might be inside Hero, which might explain why there's this ear piercing. It doesn't seem like Hero's dad is the type to ever put an ear piercing on him, but I personally believe that somehow, I think that either Golus Gammamon's brother is inside of Hero, or Golus Gammamon planted a part of himself or a copy of his data in Hero so that if he's ever destroyed, he can just come right back through Hero. So he's just like, hi, brother. Hello. But it's interesting that he didn't call him his brother at first. When he first showed up, he didn't call Hero his brother at first. No, he called him like, if you could excuse me for a moment. Okay. There we go. So he called him like just a normal human or whatnot. And he's like, you're in my way, I guess I'll kill you. But it seems he turned Hero into a vessel to revive himself if he's ever destroyed. We'll have to see how that goes if Regulusmon is destroyed or Arcturusmon manifests. But this has been an interesting episode. It actually does surprisingly redeem the rest of the season. And oh my gosh, I'm actually kind of glad for that. For the first time in this season, I'm actually glad this is the direction that they took. The episodic format was actually rewarding, to me specifically, not to all of you. Oh my gosh. I'm actually sad that most of the community doesn't see my videos because of how small my channel is, because I have enough information to like explain this. But As a long-term Digimon fan, I actually am satisfied. I have to give the writers credit for actually keeping to their word and giving enough information for this one episode to like start justifying what happened in the previous episodes. But they need to explain this more for the rest of the community because we still don't know where Yggdrasil is or who the Royal Knights even are or what they're doing or if they even survived this virus. So, yeah, this has been an interesting episode and an interesting review of both this episode and this show. So, I'm going to have to say for the most part, I'm actually very, very surprised with this. I thought it was going to be worse. As always going to be worse or something because I never like episodic format, but surprisingly, this was a good way to carry it out. It's just the lore that needed more introduction, and personally, I think that this season might be redeemable. If they tell people enough lore for starters, oh my god. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm not going to stress that too much or whatever, but I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you all in the next one, and hopefully I'm not going to have an aneurysm like I nearly did last time over this season. By the way, the text that I had in the cover, it says like, "Behold my binary power." Please like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good night. Bye.